My name is Cheapario, and today we're going to do an unboxing of the Street Fighter movie Blu Ray. This film came out in 1994, and it's been almost 30 years that we're coming up with another Blu Ray release, brand new. So, this film came out at a time when special effects just weren't up to par with what video games should have kind of represented if they're going to be adapted to film. Or maybe just film industry didn't understand how to interpret video games at all. To this day, 99% of the time, they still don't, even almost 30 years later. But Street Fighter, one of the biggest properties to this day, still a huge fighting game franchise, changed the world by storm when it came out. With Street Fighter 2, and there's many iterations of Street Fighter 2. There's new challengers, there's Turbo, Hyper. Street Fighter 2 was the game that you went to the arcades for. It was just a huge influence on my life, on every arcade. It was pretty much that first video game that you could play on your consoles at home and just have something that was just like the arcades. And the Super Nintendo version was just an amazing adaptation of what you'd played in the arcades. So Street Fighter 2, just a perfect game, one of the best games of all time. These characters have lived, are recognizable to those that probably aren't even really that familiar with video games. And to capitalize on that, Universal Studios decided to make a Street Fighter movie back in 1994, and just every bad decision they could make, just like that, it fell flat. So they made every bad decision in the book, starting with there was a number of action stars at that time that were kind of going on their meteoric rise. You had Arnold, that was, if not the biggest star back in the 80s, and then hit the precipice, the peak of his popularity, Arnold Schwarzenegger, back in 1991 with the release of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And then in parallel to that, you had Sylvester Stallone, that was doing just all those big movies, from all the Rambo sequels to Rocky to Cliffhanger in the early 90s. Then you had Steven Seagal, who was probably doing every terrible movie in the book, but was still doing well. And you had Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme, just making some great action films. And he was just in parallel to that, on that meteoric rise of just doing one great film after another. And unfortunately, this is probably the start of his downturn for Jean-Claude Van Damme, as being kind of like that hot property in Hollywood. You got Jean-Claude Van Damme to star as like this purebred American, just blood running through, all American character of Guile from the Street Fighter 2 video game. And you got Jean-Claude Van Damme, who clearly has an accent, probably not the best choice, clearly has the physicality for it, could potentially act in the part, but probably just wasn't the best fit, in all honesty. But you want to capitalize on his growing stardom in Hollywood, and you place him as the star of your movie, which in all intents and purposes, Guile, if you're play the Street Fighter game, he's not really the guy that you put front and center in your Street Fighter video game. You're going to put Ryu, who, looking at the box, if you're looking at the movie itself, he's always just this side character on the side. And to be honest with you, he's more prominent here on the cover of this Blu-ray release than he is in the entire movie. He's a very, like, maybe C or D level tertiary character in the film, when if you're to play the video games, that is the go-to guy. That is kind of the center of all these characters that are in this tournament. He's the center point. He's the main hero. He's the central aura of what goes on in the Street Fighter franchise. And you just put him in the corner there, and you want to make the American hero the star of your Universal Pictures Street Fighter adaptation, capitalize on the video game, capitalize on Jean-Claude Van Damme, one of the biggest action heroes of the time back in the early 90s. And you make one wrong decision, then make another and another. But yeah, this was not a really good movie. It's fun to watch, by all means. It's a fun movie to watch, and I'll probably do another follow-up video to that of this unboxing once I watch the movie again. It's been quite a while, but saw that this new release was coming out and want to do an unboxing of the Blu Ray and just kind of see what is in this new edition. So I purchased this off of Amazon. It was on sale at the time. But again, they've done a couple of releases over the years. I think they just did one probably about maybe 2018, 2019. And truth be told, this is the movie that you'll find just spread out in your Walmart 5 and below Blu-ray DVD bins. You'll always find a copy of Street Fighter. And not to be confused, there was another film adaptation after this called, I think it was called Legend of Chun-Li, starring Kristen Kruk from Smallville fame. Was starring as Chun-Li, and the movie focused on her as almost like a prequel to the Street Fighter tournament, Street Fighter franchise as a whole. And that was surprisingly a much worse film, unconnected to this. But it was an attempt by Capcom and film industry to once again capitalize on the Street Fighter franchise, and just failed worse than this ever did. So I believe at the time this was pretty high production values. And the intent there was to start up a new franchise, to kind of continue on with the games. I think around that time, they had already released Street Fighter 3, which, I don't think it really garnered the attention that they were hoping for. So they kind of, as far as Capcom, the developer, the manufacturer of these video games, they kind of pivoted over and they did Street Fighter Alpha. And that was a success for them. But again, around that time, between the movies and some of the hiccups that happened with Street Fighter, this movie didn't help things. So we'll go ahead, without all that history to kind of go past at this point. Let's go straight into the Blu-ray itself. So you've got this kind of this glossy finish to it, focusing on all the characters from the video game that you know and love and are just raped thoroughly with this film adaptation, just destroyed. Again, there's some enjoyment to have out of this film, but just to put that out there. So in terms of this Blu-ray release, kind of got this glossy finish to it, the Street Fighter logo on the front, got all your favorite characters. This guy kind of misplaced, honestly, but we'll start with Jean-Claude Van Damme as your main hero, as Guile. You've got juxtaposition to that. You've got M. Bison as your lead villain, starring Raul Julia, who I believe this was his last film before he sadly passed away. Just a great actor, and he chews up the screen in this movie. So if you're going to find some small kind of really good things out of this film, his performance is great. He just really does a great job chewing it up as M. Bison, kind of the lead villain of video games and this movie. You've got Ken Masters on the side there, Ryu, you've got Cammy, you've got Chun-Li starring Mina Wen, who is just the GOAT, just doesn't age, looks amazing, just great martial arts athlete. She's just amazing. She stars in The Mandalorian currently, Boba Fett, she starred in S.H.I.E.L.D., she just does one thing after another. Bad Batch, I believe she's in that as well. She's just an amazing actress, just great. Her star power just continues and continues. She does a good job as Chun-Li. Honestly, I think the only complaint I have about Mina Wen is didn't use her enough. She acts as, if memory serves me, a reporter. I'm going off of memory here, so I could be wrong, but I just wish there was actually more of her. You got E. Honda over here, and you got Balrog on the side over here. Just a really kind of cool cover, just kind of pops more so than previous releases. Got this glossy finish to it. Street Fighter on the side. This is, I just want to point out, this is a steel book. And look at that, you got kind of that blue and red kind of division of the colors of the steel book. And then on the back, and if I'm feeling it right here, you've kind of got like a plastic steel cover to the steel book. and it feels like that there is some type of booklet inside. So we're going to find that out. I don't know what's included. I bought this kind of without reading as to what the contents of this new release is. So we'll find out in just a moment. And then kind of more information on the back, giving you a breakdown of the special features and kind of some snapshots of different kind of scenes from the movie. In terms of new bonus features, you've got new interviews with the director, Ming-Na Wen. Oh, that's a good thing. So they clearly got the best actress, the best actor from the movie to come back and talk about the movie. And then you've got some other actors and the producers that they're doing interviews with. It looks like those appear to be kind of like the brand new interview stuff that is just brand new to this release. So it looks like it's all recent. And then they've got probably previously unseen featurettes like Van Damme at Universal, the game comparison to the film, and then kind of like an overview of the music through the composer. And then the rest of the stuff seems like stuff they've had in the past, like the making of Street Fighter, outtakes and deleted scenes, archival audio commentary, storyboard to video game sequences, and they've got and more. But honestly, the one that seems interesting to me is clearly going to be kind of the interview with Ming-Na Wen. I know you guys can't read it, but there's the breakdown of the special features. So definitely looking forward to it. I always like to see whenever they do a new iteration of a Blu Ray or a new film release, if they go from Blu Ray to from DVD to Blu Ray to 4K, it's great to just see how the film just feels newer. It just feels higher quality. It almost feels like it came out today, especially for these older films. And there are benefits to kind of purchasing some of these Blu-ray and this is, I don't even know if this comes with a digital copy. I'll have to find out. But it's always great to buy some of these hard copy versions of the movie, to get some of these higher quality steelbook releases, these more limited type deals to the film, to have this, for those that are collectors, to have this side by side, either as like a memory or as like a kind of just a companion piece to your Street Fighter collection. But not only that, if you're trying to stream some of these movies through, if they're releasing on Netflix or Paramount Plus or Peacock or through Disney Plus, they're not going to be some of the newer releases that have gone through film restorations, that have gone through kind of digital restorations of the films. They're going to be some of the older iterations that are not as high quality and kind of look like they're running through toilet water, to be honest with you. So again, we'll do the unboxing, and then I'll do another video separately where I kind of discuss that copy of the film, if they've restored it or not. I'm hoping they did, to just kind of see if things look cleaner, and kind of, it even almost improves the film when you get that more glossier, cleaner look to it, that more refined look to it. And to be honest with you, like, again, I didn't really like Street Fighter when it came out, even as a kid. I enjoyed some things of being able to see the characters, but I felt like Blanca and some of the other characters just completely were wrong. I would like to see kind of an adaptation of the Mario Brothers film released in the same capacity. I doubt they will, because probably Nintendo wants you to forget all about that. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the box itself. Without me puncturing the box or destroying this beautiful kind of glossy steelbook. Take off the saran wrap and put that right there. Hopefully I didn't scratch the box itself. I believe that was probably a dent from the beginning, but that's okay. When it kind of shipped from Amazon, there's a little dent on the box, unfortunately. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a little bit of a dent right there. So we're going to take it out of its slipcase. Take it out of its little plastic. Okay, so there's the plastic casing. Again, kind of like a cheap plastic, but it does have the Street Fighter logo on it. That's pretty cool. And when you take the actual plastic cover, it's just got the backdrop, or sorry, that kind of like that back cover and the Street Fighter on the front. Put that to the side over here, and from that gives us the main cover, still looking glossy, looking great. And then what's revealed in the back is actually what M. Bison had in the movie, which was a portrait inside of his kind of main throne room of him on a horse. So he had this massive, huge ego in the movie where everything was just focused on him and everything was about him. And you go into his throne room where he's kind of intimidating Ming-Na Wen, or her interpretation as Chun-Li, and I believe Chun-Li is in her cuffs or something like that, and she breaks them and tries to kind of intimidate back M. Bison, but M. Bison's not having it. But this was in his throne room. This was a kind of a portrait that he had on the wall, that he had apparently some painter kind of depict himself as this huge, strong character riding on a horse. And then, of course, the main cover that we had that was viewable in the main kind of slipcase. So that is on the front and back. I thought there was a booklet. Again, it could have just been the feel of the slipcase. So we'll find out if there's anything special within the case itself besides the movie. A little disappointed. I was hoping there would be some type of booklet, but this is pretty cool. So we'll get to this in a moment. Looks like there's something in there, but when you open it, doesn't look like there's any type of digital copy, but you get the Blu Ray inside, and you also got an inside picture of Guile and his kind of army of characters that, again, were kind of all misrepresented in the film. Kylie Minogue, singer, and she played Cammy in this movie. Again, didn't make enough of an impression, but was kind of set up in the film as, I guess, a second in command of sorts. And then you've got the Blu Ray itself, which is M. Bison kind of depicted in his main kind of hovering platform. And that was kind of something that was weird in of itself. It almost felt like that was something that was out of like Sonic the Hedgehog, where you'd have Robotnik, Dr. Eggman, on top of his floating little pod or floating egg. It just doesn't seem it was necessary to Street Fighter. Then in the movie, he had all these technological advancements where he could do the moves from the movie, and he had a one-up amongst the other fighters in the movie. So before I get into what was in the box itself, I did want to point out something I overlooked. I believe this was the poster back in the 90s, and it's on the side of the actual steelbook. So I believe that's kind of the miniaturized version of the poster there. So again, this is the actual Blu Ray itself. Does the job. Let me kind of pop it out to see what's behind the disc. If there's anything cool behind the disc. Oh, and Bison being Bison. Yeah. Bison, I think, was, again, he had a huge ego. I think he had his own money, or he was proposing his own money in the film to kind of, when he takes over these countries, he was going to institute himself on their dollar, so to speak. So as you see right here, you've got kind of this, I guess it's called Pax Bisonica. I haven't watched the movie in so long. I'm assuming that's what he was going to call his own country or continent. And then again, that was Bison's logo, or kind of Bison's stamp, so to speak, in the film. And then he has himself listed as Supreme Head of State. So we're going to open this. It looks like there's actually kind of like a duplicate, or not a duplicate, but kind of a almost like a prop of what it looked like in the movie. You've got the actual $100 bill, I guess how it looks in the film, of M. Bison on the $100 bill. And then he's got his signature on there, Supreme Head of State. This note is not legal tender. And again, pretty cool to have that kind of prop, or that interpretation of how the money looked in the movie. And it's a nice touch. This film, if you get on sale, I think I paid about 12, 13 bucks for it, which is more than really the film's worth. But you get some of these nice props on it. I wouldn't spend even 20 bucks. It's not a good movie. It's just something to maybe have some good laughs at. Maybe if your kids are getting into Street Fighter, watch it with them and see if they like it or not. They probably won't. But just I think that was kind of neat. That's probably the only really unique thing out of this release is this kind of like recreation of the cast from the film. Cool nonetheless. I had actually, even at whatever the $12 or $13 I had paid for this, I had actually regretted it, to be honest with you, and I thought about returning it to not open it. But now I was thinking to myself, I love Street Fighter. I have the animated films, which honestly I don't like that much either. Parts. I think they did a full animated film for Street Fighter 2. I think I may or may not have a copy of the DVD for the animated series that played in the US. And then I also have the short film that was, I think it was kind of like a prequel to Street Fighter 4. I don't think it's a full-length film. I think it's maybe 40 to 45 minutes, if even that. But I have that as well. None of those, I know that's kind of going against the grain. Most people love the animated Street Fighter 2 movie. I don't. But for those that like it, I think they thought it was a good interpretation of the video game. I own it either way. So I thought it was kind of a good thing to kind of include the live action film in the collection. So I went ahead and decided not to return it and go ahead and just do this unboxing for you guys and just watch the film, hopefully with my daughter, and see if she enjoys watching the movie as much as she does watching the game. I doubt it, but we'll see.